3. Euler. The three of them stared in disbelief as the words appeared on their screens. Scattered across the globe, thousands of kilometers apart, they were having difficulty accepting the reality of their accomplishment. It felt unreal. They had been trying to crack this for 2 years, and now it was done. "We've done it." "You have." "We have. Mine was just the finishing touch." "Accept the compliment. These don't come often." "This was a team effort. I didn't do it alone." It was true. It had been a team effort, but the praise was due nonetheless. "The solution was simpler than I thought. It was me that wasted time looking for a complex one." "What kind of simple?" "A differential attack. I guess when you have quantum computing, you don't think too much about the algorithm itself." A kid was shouting with joy in the apartment next door. Shrieks of pure happiness echoed through the wall. He probably scored a goal in his video game, thought Euler, leaning back in the chair. "What's next?" "Send me the source. I will merge it and run it on the encrypted file." The rule was that nobody ran software which they had not compiled themselves. It was not lack of trust. It was just common sense to know what was running on your machine. Euler trusted gentlemen the same way gentlemen trusted Euler, but it paid to be paranoid doing what they were doing. Euler went through gentlemen's source code, admiring its elegance. All code had texture. Euler could feel it as if it were something physical. Bad code felt coarse. Gentlemen's felt like caressing silk. "Code is good. I have no idea how you derived the math." "I can show you. Just tell me when." "No IRL meets. Not with me, not with anybody." "It never hurts trying." "Do you want me to scan my notes?" "Scan? Do you work on paper?" "I can't do math on a screen." "You must be older than you want us to believe if you're still using paper." Euler knew exactly how old Gentleman was. Euler might not be as gifted with numbers, but was a league apart when it came to coding. Euler had tracked down every member of the team before they even knew there was a team to join. This was no membership club. You earned your way in. Gentleman, Bill, who had inherited a pub in London, had never finished high school. Fax was a high school math teacher and a voracious reader based in Beijing. Euler had managed to trace her through a dozen hops and then had shown her how to make sure that the Chinese police would never be able to do the same. Icon was a 14-year-old slob with even less social skills than the rest of them, but she was a savant when it came to network security and microprocessor architecture. The only reason Euler had managed to track her was because she had allowed it. "Yes, send the notes." "I'll do better. I'll type them up so you won't need to decode my scrolls." If Gentleman's code was like silk, his math was like an old master's painting. Equations had form in Euler's eyes. Each fragment was a unique shape, and Euler could tell at a glance when two fit together by their shape alone. There was an artistic element to this. There was Kalathina. School could only give you a formal explanation about the relationship between numbers, symbols, and the abstract concepts they represented, but it could never give you that instinctive understanding which required no explanation. You couldn't teach what they had done. That kind of understanding was something you had inside. It was not something you could train. Few people could appreciate this difference. While Euler's math was not at Gentleman's level, it was Euler who had made all of this possible. It was Euler who had found the first ciphertext allowing the team its start, and it was Euler's obsession which had assembled them from a purposeless group of unrecognized geniuses to the team which had cracked a nut that not even the NSA or the Chinese had managed to. "It's beautiful." "Does it qualify?" Euler didn't want to admit it, but it did qualify. With flying colors. It was the most beautiful piece of code Euler had seen in a long time. "Not a chance." "I see. Is it working at least?" "It compiled. I pinged the binary to send me a batch of emails. I'll send the plain text as soon as it's finished decrypting." "Have you secured the new CNC server?" "I have." "What about Icon?" "I've done my part." "Good. We do not operate on an unsecured server, do we?" "No, not anymore. I've learned my lesson." The Ono raid was too close. "No more cowboy rides." The binary pinged back with its load of encrypted emails. Euler would check the server's security later. I received the emails. It's decrypting as we speak. The file was much bigger than expected, and Euler agreed to get back to them as soon as this had finished decrypting. Euler stared at the blank walls, thinking of what would come next. Specks of dust floated in the shafts of light filtering through the curtains. It was the middle of the night, and the streets were quiet. Euler's apartment was a hollow shell crammed with books and electronics. There were books everywhere and on every subject. English, Chinese, and Morothì grammars sat in piles with books on number theory, hereditary captaincies, and financial modeling. Frank Herbert sat with nonlinear equations and the Treaty of Tordesillas. Tolkien, The Jungle Book, and game theory were stacked under the Bletchley Park archives, Rommel's biography, and The White Rose. Euler loved the smell of books, especially the old ones. They smelled like home. A series of numbers and debugging symbols appeared on the screen, indicating that the script had finished decrypting the emails. It took Euler a single glimpse to understand that they would need months to comb through all the plaintexts. Even a team of experienced journalists wouldn't take much less. They had breached the email backup server of the Morothì embassy in Berlin, after all. The kid next door started shouting again. This cannot be just a mid-season goal, thought Euler. He must have won the whole championship. Whatever he had accomplished, it must have been truly amazing because he could not stop screaming. Euler wandered into the kitchen and looked at the leftover pizza sitting on the table. Euler opened the cardboard box and gave it a sniff. It still smelled good enough. Euler had neither the patience to microwave it nor the time to wait for delivery. This would have to do. It's finished. I'm sending it over. How big? It will take us months to go through it. I thought it might be the case. I've been working on a script, a Bayesian filter, which I trained on some email dumps I have lying around. It should speed up things. Are the emails you used relevant for what we need to reduce? No, but it's a starting point. We can iterate as we go along. Have we changed our protocols when it comes to securing CNC servers? What do you mean? No, nothing has changed. I found some binaries which shouldn't be there. I ran them through my scanners and they had NSA fingerprints all over them. Is this something one of you is testing? No. Then the server's been compromised. The specks of dust froze in the frayed light. Was it before I pinged the binary or after? I don't know. My objective is to make sure we've covered our tracks. I'll do a post-mortem after that. Slash and burn. Don't allow them to track you. On it. Let's make sure we're ready in case the police come knocking. Do I need to remind you that all of this needs to be done manually? No automation and no scripts, okay? Of course. Euler put the decrypted email to the side and went to work. They scrubbed all intermediate machines, purged logs, and rotated IPs so often it became a challenge to keep track. It took hours to sanitize everything. They were meticulous about it. That is how they kept out of trouble. By the time they finished, Euler was ready to crawl into bed. On any normal night, this would have been the case. But not tonight. Although Euler wanted to dive right in and see what the emails contained, the signal-to-noise ratio was too low, and many of the emails were in languages Euler did not understand or covered irrelevant topics like travel expenses, meeting minutes, and new laws in faraway countries. There was little to do except wait for Gentleman's script to reduce the email dump into something more digestible. I'm sending over a quick analysis. I set up my script for speed, so we'll have missed a lot, but at least we can start going through the results and optimize the parameters. I'm sure Fax would be online if she knew how fast we progressed. Don't get your hopes too high. We still need to wait for the script to finish the deep analysis. The reduction makes little sense as it is. It's floated a Brazilian company, Pindorama SA, multiple times. The script scored it high. There's even a partial transcript of a police interrogation of its CEO. They believe he's bribing some politician to win contracts. Have you seen the article? The script attached it in full, not a summary. Euler found the article and scanned through it. It described how AG batteries had stopped terrorism in the Middle East, how the arrival of a cheaper and cleaner alternative to oil as a form of energy storage had caused the value of oil fields around the world to plummet almost overnight. It had taken AG batteries and solar paint 2 years to destroy a market that had survived a century and a half, said the article. Crude oil had gone from being a premium raw material to a low-cost commodity relegated to the production of clothing, medicines, and skincare products. Academics had debated the idea that emerging markets would not be able to afford AG batteries, the article continued, and would take over the demand for crude oil once prices fell. But with Western hunger weaned off oil for energy purposes, the price of the barrel could not be resurrected and the Middle Eastern economies were crushed. AG batteries and solar paint had been more effective in crippling the jihad than any U.S. invasion ever had. Peace had been forged onto the Middle East not through blood, bullets, and Bibles, but by bankrupting the war chests of global terrorism. They're planning a visit to Venezuela and are debating if this should be led by the UN ambassador or by the Berlin embassy. They have a busy schedule of official and unofficial visits. Why has this one in particular been floated? Have you noticed that there is no communication with Bouvet Island? They are not using email to communicate among themselves. Email is only used with us. So it's true. I would love to get a line on whatever they are using to communicate internally. So would everybody else, including how they communicate off-planet. Be proud. We have accomplished something nobody else has. Gentleman was right. Euler was still in shock when thinking about what they had pulled off. No one had ever boasted of having hacked into the Berlin embassy or having cracked its encryption, let alone both. They were in the big boys club now. Nobody would ever know it, not even the cliques which had bullied them all through high school. But they were. Yes, be proud, because I don't think we will be able to repeat this anytime soon. I have a bad feeling about those binaries. Are you sure? No, I'm not sure. They're inactive. They haven't been transmitting since I found them, but their encryption smells of NSA. Here's another reference to Pindorama. They're flying down some cargo from the lot. It says AG batteries. Euler was reading through Gentleman's document. Despite the reduction, it was still impressively long. Wait, I have another manifest saying that the Valkyrie is flying empty. Where did you find the manifest? I'm looking at the original emails. The script left too many gaps. The Valkyrie was supposed to fly to LXD. What's so important about a cargo of AG batteries to Brazil? An empty drop, according to the second manifest. Why is the Berlin embassy even looking at a commercial transaction? Brazilian rosewood? Could be. They love ancient trees, and Brazilian rosewood is at the top of their list. Do we have an ETA for the deep analysis? It will be ready by the time we wake up tomorrow. Then let's focus on what we have. Could they be smuggling Brazilian rosewood? Could be. They're not allowed a commercial license below the Carmen line, so they'll need to make use of a licensed lift, even for an illegal operation. It would... Suddenly, the apartment went dark. The uninterruptible power supply under Euler's desk kicked in and kept the stack. 3 concealed cameras behind the windows and a 4th on the landing outside the front door powered up. Euler's eyes went to the black and white monitor showing the views from the 4 cameras. The 3 behind the windows didn't show anything out of the ordinary, but the last one showed a half-dozen carabinieri, the Italian gendarmerie, standing on Euler's landing. They wore black tactical and were about to knock down the front door with a handheld battering ram. Euler had barely time to start the emergency procedure, which included dropping all SIM cards in a small canister of acid, encrypting everything, and starting a secure delete process doing multiple overwrites on all memory, before hearing the door crashing into the wall and the police shouting, "Step away from your computer!"